and I are in a group. It's called the Bring It meeting that I meets once a month or so, and just talks about different business building ideas. Jason shared on the last meeting that we were on a strategy that he's employing right now that is just really, really brilliant. And so I asked him, and then Jacqueline was kind of doing something along the same lines with a client that she had met. And so I asked Jason to send me, Carol sent me Jason's flip. So Jason, I'll just let you take it from here. I don't need to explain it. You go ahead and start talking. Thank you. Thanks for being here. I appreciate it, buddy.
Oh, you bet, Dave. Well, I'm thankful to be with you guys this morning. It's really cool to see, your branch and how you kind of do things. And, I can tell all you guys just hanging out and spending a little time with Dave. He's a heck of a guy. And I feel like every time he says something, I learn something. So I was happy and flattered when he asked me to kind of come and talk to you guys this morning. One of the things that I think is really important right now is that we try to figure out how, we can be creative in showing value for our referral partners. The strategy that I've come up with, I like it for a couple different reasons. Number one, and I'll explain it, but number one, I like it because I think it's a really good way that we can manufacture some transactions. I believe there's, some real substance here in practice. I've got several deals that are going now because of this, but number two, the thing that I like just as much as that, I think a lot of real estate agents in this market are a little bit scared because it's uncertain. I mean, today the inflation number came out. If you're watching, the mortgage backs, they, fell pretty hard. So, there's a lot of reasons for people to be a little bit nervous, but with something like inflation being what it is, there's still opportunity in the market. So what I have developed is a program where I'm teaching classes is what I'm doing, but my call to action is very, very simple. When I go through and explain what's going on in the economy, I explain interest rates, inflation, appreciation, all those different things. But I'll ask the real estate agents in the room to raise their hands if they've sold a home in the last 2 years. And we all know that most of the agents that we want to work with have done that. So everybody will raise their hand. They're good sports. The second question that I'll ask them is, hey, I want you to think of just one family that you sold a house to. Do you think that family might be a little bit salty about paying nearly $5 for a gallon of gas? Everybody laughs and chuckles and they raise their hand. I said, hey, one more question. Do you think that family that you sold a house to has a lot of equity in their home? And then everybody raises their hand. And it's just a cool little way to walk them through and qualify them and get to the point to say, hey, look, you're a candidate for my program. And it's essentially this. What I'm teaching real estate agents is that the clients that they've sold homes to over the last 2 years, the rate of return on the equity in their home is zero. It doesn't matter if that property is fully leveraged or if it's paid off and is free and clear. The value of the house is going to be the same. And the equity that exists in that house, financially speaking, is earning that client zero. And so what I do from that point is kind of show them a couple different options about how they might access that equity and generate a rate of return. So I'm showing them how they can do that. Generally, it's through a HELOC to basically, get somewhere around $100,000 cash. And then I identify one of 3 potential ways that they have the ability to, make a profit. They can always do like a long-term rental. That's getting harder.
Sorry.
No worries. The second thing that I've done, and I got this idea from my kids. My kids are smart, especially my older ones. They're from Ethiopia, and so they have that. Brian Buffini calls it the immigrant advantage, and I was able to help my son Hanuk buy his first house 2 summers ago. He's a single guy. And so what he's done is he's basically taken every room in his house that he's not living in and he rents it out. And it gave me an incredible idea. So I started looking at, what the rents are on rooms. And especially if you find like areas like in Phoenix, Grand Canyon University, which is right in the middle of town, there's this whole area of affordable housing. I mean, relatively speaking, but they're renting rooms out for $800 or $900 a room. So I model, for instance, I found a house on MLS that had 5 bedrooms. It was proximate to, it was proximate to the university. If you could rent 5 bedrooms out at $800 a room, it's pretty easy to make a profit. And then the other thing I show them is their ability to put together and make a profit on something like an Airbnb. And what I'm really trying to demonstrate, and I can send you guys, and Dave, I don't know if I sent it to you already, but I'll send it to you if I haven't. I put together a couple models where we can show that a homeowner can access that equity and they can earn anywhere between 6 and 13% in terms of a rate of return, cash on cash, just by leveraging the equity in their house and creating wealth. I came over this morning because I thought it would be kind of cool to give you guys an example. I don't know if you can see where it is that I'm at. This is actually one of my Airbnbs. I got the idea because this is something that I'm actually doing myself. This is a little house that, and I fortunately, right, we're in the mortgage business, so we've done very well the last couple of years. So I wanted to figure out where I wanted to put my money that I was making because I didn't want to spend it. But what I did is I bought this little gem right here. It's super simple. It's just a little house. It's next to downtown Prescott, which is a really cool area that people like to go to. Long and the skinny of it is my expense on this house in terms of mortgage payment, utilities, all the different things. I'm spending, I don't know, probably somewhere around $1,150, $1,200 a month for this house. I'm making right around $3,000 to $3,500 gross revenue on the deal. So on this house right here, which is just, what is this? This is 1,200 square feet, something like that. This house I'm making almost $2,000 a month, just cash on. And so, when you talk
just doing Airbnb,
it's doing Airbnb. That's all it is that I'm doing. In fact, actually, I don't know. Let me show you outside. If you were to, this was a cool opportunity. I don't know if you guys can see over there. That's my house also right next to it. So I bought a couple of actually.
For you.
And so anyways, the point is that's what it is that I'm really modeling for the real estate agents. And, the question that really gets a lot of traction is I'll ask them, hey, if you were able to call your clients up and give them a way that they could generate, $400, $500, $600, $700 a month extra in cash flow, do you think that family might feel a little bit less salty about paying $5 for a gallon of gas? And every single real estate agent that I have talked to about this has gone crazy. So
talk a little bit about, so you guys, I'm going to share a really cool flip book that the marketing team put together with Jason's design help, and not design help, but what he wanted it to look, what the information that he was trying to convey. But talk a little bit, and it's a really cool flip book where he walks through, I sent this to Jacqueline, I'll send it to everybody else, where he walks through. In fact, you know what? I can, let me pull it up. And Jason, can you talk through the meeting that you did? Like, you arranged a meeting with a group of agents and talk through how you set that up. And then the next phase of that was doing it with an agent and some consumers. So talk about those two approaches that you took, and I'll find the flip book and I'll start share. I'll bring it on to I'll do it. I'll share my screen. Go ahead.
So my approach is pretty simple. The way that I brand the class, it's a class is what I do. And I'm leveraging title companies to spread the word, different real estate agents. The brokerages themselves love the content when I talk to a broker or whatever. So we're trying to get together a room full of, I don't know, anywhere between 15 and 20 real estate agents is what we're doing. And I title the class Interest Rates, Appreciation, and Inflation. And the reason why I do that, and it's very specific, is because it's a topic that most real estate agents are very interested in. They want to hear about inflation. They want to hear about appreciation. And so they're interested because they're coming for market information. And that's what I do. The class itself is taught in terms of what's going on in the economy. I mean, I spend, of an hour class, probably about 40 minutes of it, just teaching them about how interest rates work, what the Federal Reserve does, what the inflation rate really means. I define the term peak inflation, and I start to tell them, hey, these are the things you want to watch whenever you're watching financial markets. And, don't rely on a mortgage company telling you that the Federal Reserve cut interest rates, so call us for your interest rate, because that's garbage. That's not really how it works. And so anyways, that's what we do. And then we get to the end, and then I basically share the concept like, hey, listen, now that you're equipped with all this information, did you know that there's a really cool way that you can make this work for you? And part of that is explaining, whenever you're purchasing real estate right now, you're fixing your, and it's the greatest hedge that you can have, financially speaking, against inflation, because market rent is also a function of inflation. So if you have the ability to purchase a house today, 12 months from today, your payment is going to be the same outside of taxes or insurance, but market rent continues to change. And so we talk about how the broader economic things actually make this a really good program. And we compare that to investing in the stock market or wherever it is. So then what happens is, I'm trying to, with the real estate agents who get interested, because they all come and talk to me afterwards, basically tell them, hey, listen, I'm interested in putting together a platinum investment group. And if it's a real estate agent, for instance, down here, Linda Booker's a big name. So she came to one of my classes and I said, hey, I'd really love to help you put together, the Linda Booker Platinum Investment Group. And she's like, wow, that would be awesome. What I do and the way that I sell it is I try to create the impression of exclusivity. I invite everybody to it, but like, I'll tell somebody like Linda, hey, listen, this is a lot of work. This is a lot of stuff. If we're going to put together some classes that we do for your clients, if we do all that type of stuff, I'm ready to commit, but it's a lot of resources in terms of marketing my staff. I really want a commitment from you that we're going to be partners. And so what's awesome about the program is, just because they want what we're doing so much, we're getting commitments from them just to be the relationship. So we're starting to get leads that have nothing to do with the program, just because they want to be a part of the program. So the second piece, and Dave, this is what you're talking about, what we're doing right now is we're lining up the classes, and I'm giving my real estate agents basically the scripting to go out and reach out to their database. So for instance, I met with a guy earlier this week on Tuesday. He went through his entire database and pulled up everybody that he sold a house to in the last 5 years, looked at the value of what, the property is today versus what they originally financed. He didn't see if they, had changed or anything, but he had $58 million worth of equity in his previous clients. And I said, that's awesome. Let's get on the phone and let's start calling. And we're going to start inviting them to come and basically teach them how they can make this market work for them. So what we're doing is we're developing workbooks so that when people come, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to teach them about how the economy works. We're going to teach them why the specific market today really makes it, attractive for this type of investment. And we're not selling them the idea of appreciation. We don't know where the market is going to go, but what we're doing is we are, teaching them how they can generate cash flow. And so anyways, that's really kind of the deal. And sorry, guys, I have to look and see if I'm getting a text message that somebody's here. Anyways, but yeah, that's the idea. What we're doing is we're doing it in a two-step phase. The first is attracting the agent. And then once we have the agent, then what we're doing is we're putting together classes where we bring the people in, and
You've marketed. So what you marketed to the agents to get them in a room together was a class on, what would you call it?
It's a class on interest rates, appreciation, and interest rates, inflation, and appreciation.
Okay.
I have two titles of it. There was one person that I did this with, and what they wanted to do is they wanted to brand it Equity Power, Secrets of the Affluent. They thought somehow that would be more sexy. So I was like, hey, if you want to call it that, I don't care. So that's exactly what they did. And yeah.
All right. And so and that's where you showed what I'm showing on the screen right now is the VIP Platinum Investment Group flip book. Is that the one that you show at that meeting?
No, you know what? That I actually just had done. So they're still working on that, because what we're going to do with that, that's the first run through on it. But what Carol is doing is she's helping us co-brand that. So what's going to happen is eventually that will be a flip book that can be co-branded to whoever my referral partner is. Right. So it'll have their information on it. It'll have our information on it.
Okay.
That first page that you're on there really is kind of all the concepts that I'm talking about right here. So yeah, that's kind of how
Well,
we
this
do
is
it.
just, so I'm going to show you guys what he did. So he just, there's a flip book here with some of the examples of the economic investment models. This is the room rental model where he walks through the cash flow analysis and the total investment and the different examples. Now I actually, and then he's got an Airbnb example. So that model there. And then this is for the full-time rental model. This actually needed to be corrected to say actual full-time rental model. But what was cool about it was it was tied in with what Jacqueline was doing. So Jacqueline, I'd like you to share a little bit as well with what you had stumbled upon with that agent. So go ahead and share and that's why this is like a really good pairing right now. So go ahead.
So what I was doing is so the agent was kind of like later in the process. So what I was working on was trying to figure out ways to just work from a mind of abundance. And so I was working with my ninja coach, and we were talking about how do we see, I've had a couple conversations with buyers that are like, oh, it never occurred to me to do that, or I never thought I could do that with my equity. And so I was like, well, there's all these first-time homeowners who own these properties they bought in 17, 18, 19, and they've got a ton of equity in their homes and they don't know what to do with it. And so what if I did a class that just talks about, okay, I've got all this equity in my house, what do I do with it? So I just started brainstorming ideas, and it was a culmination of like talking through debt consolidation and getting rid of all your credit card debt, or paying for college, family planning, home renovations, turning your property into rental, or using the equity in your house to buy the new one. And I just happened to be talking about it with one of my agents this week, and she wanted to do it in her office with her people. So that's kind of how that started to go. But so I put, as I was pitching this to Dave, it's like, what am I missing? He showed me what Jason was working on. And so I sent all of my information over to marketing. So they're working on all of the ideas that I have to put that together in like a PowerPoint or flipbook situation. Because what I was planning to do is have homeowner meetings with my clients. But now seeing this, I hadn't dove into the rental side of it at all, and the Airbnb model and all that stuff, which makes tons of sense to incorporate that too. And then figuring out how, pitching this to real estate agents and then getting homeowners in the room and having those conversations with them.
Right. What you're both doing, which is so impressive, is, and Jason, you said it earlier, is manufacturing transactions. And what you're really doing is really helping your real estate agents figure out that there's, and this is what I'm saying is that you're manufacturing transactions and you're helping your real estate agents understand. It's like going, there's plenty of opportunity if you go and look for it. Right? If you're just going to sit back and wait for the phone to ring, you're going to be sitting back for a long time with the phone not ringing. And so I think it's what I like about both approaches that you're both taking is that, like, how do we manufacture transactions? Because there's plenty of opportunities out there. What is this YouTube link that you sent, Jason?
So that's actually a recording of the class that I did last Thursday. So it's long, it's an hour 22, but if you wanted to see the entire thing, soup to nuts, from the very beginning. The class itself is actually, it's a lot of fun. I started off, and the object lesson that I use is about inflation. So what I do is I give everybody poker chips, and then I give them an opportunity to win a few more, and then I auction off 3 different pieces of candy. And then we go through the room, and I end up passing a stimulus program. So we give them a little stimmy money. we go out and we double the amount of, poker chips in the room, and then we auction off the exact 3 same items. And then we ask them, like one of them is a king size Kit Kat bar. We ask them, is the second Kit Kat bar, which went for, $5 more than the first Kit Kat bar, is this one worth something different? Is the value of this Kit Kat bar different? And it's fun to watch, because some people are like, yeah, it's worth more because it sold for more money. And the point is actually it's not. It's that our money is worth less. And so then we go through the mechanics of inflation and appreciation. We deal with both supply of currency, supply of goods. So you'll see it on that deal, if you guys do want to watch that. And Dave, kind of like what it is that you're saying, and it says it in that flip book, because to me, this was the best way that I can really explain it to real estate agents, you know, stockbrokers are a really good model for us, really, if we want to think about it. What stockbrokers do, they sit in their office and they basically study different stocks that exist. And what they do is they pick up the phone, they get on offense, and they call up their clients, the ones with higher net worth, and they basically say, hey, Dave, listen, I've been watching this stock. It's poised to break out. I'm telling you, you don't want to be the person who missed Yahoo. I need you to pick up 150 shares of this, and you're going to thank me later, because this thing's going to take off and we're going to make a ton of money, right? And when you think about real estate, all it really is one of the places where we have the ability as Americans to store our wealth. We can store it in currency, we can store it in stocks, bonds, we can also store it in real estate. And so, you know, what we want to do is, if that's how stockbrokers do it, instead of playing defense and waiting for our phone to ring, which is so often what it is that we do,
Yep.
Why don't we play offense? Because we have an investment that, quite frankly, in my opinion, at this point, it's superior to picking up. I mean, if you had money, do you want to put it in the stock market right now? The yield curve inverted, we're looking at inflation, and we're looking at a recession, all these different things. Or do we want to put it in a place where we can guarantee a rate of return, take advantage of inflation as it happens, and create that hedge, financially speaking? So whenever we do it like that and frame it like that, you know, it gives real estate agents purpose. And I think that's one of the things they really lack right now is, well, what do I do with my time? You know, I can't find properties. Listings are hard. I'm afraid of the market. Why don't you take your time and pick up the phone and let's manufacture transactions, right?
Well, and what I really like about it that is really powerful, and I don't want this to be lost on anyone. What I really like about it is that you're creating a really high level of loyalty with a referral partner that maybe you weren't even going to get business from, maybe already had a relationship or several relationships where they dole out business, but nobody brings. This is an incredible amount of value that you're bringing to a real estate agent. You have to remember that a real estate agent, the amount of money a real estate agent makes on a buy side is substantial, right? You get them a half a dozen buy sides in the next 6 months that they weren't going to get. You're their buddy, right? You're their best buddy. And I like the way you're leveraging it, which is like, hey, I can only afford to work. This is we've put a lot, and you have put a ton of work into this. I can only afford to work with agents that are committed to being my partner. And
That's right.
And so you're getting that commitment up front. Talk quickly, it's because it's about 9:30. Talk quickly about your idea for the meeting where the realtor brings the clients in for the same type of a presentation. Because I love the approach that you're taking with that.
Yeah, what we want to do is we want to make it comfortable. You know, like I think you've all seen the financial planners who rent out steakhouses and do all that type of stuff. We're not going that big, but we're inviting them in. We're going to bring food, you know, for that type of deal. You know, we want them to come. We want it to be during the evening so that they can attend. And really that meeting, what we do, I'm developing, and I don't have it done yet, but I'm putting together basically a binder. And I want it to be something that is very, very nice. It's going to explain the program. It's going to talk about the different steps. And it's going to talk about how to evaluate an investment property. I'm writing up a survey that I can put in there. So it's a little self-test that a borrower could basically go in and take to figure out what their risk tolerance or aversion is, that might tell them, hey, you know what, I'm a little bit more risk averse, so the idea of renting out 6 rooms scares me, you know. Or, you know what, I love the idea of an Airbnb because I want a place where I can adventure to when I'm not renting it out. You know, something that directs their thinking, and it's something that they can take home. So what happens during that class is the, you know, the clients that come in that are invited, if they opt in to the investment group, the very first thing that we do is we qualify them on the home loan to make sure that they can qualify for the investment property. We set them up to access the equity if that's what it is that they want to do. So we set those two pieces in motion. And then what we do is we have a campaign to follow up with them until they get to the point where they're funded. And then what we want is our real estate agents to basically send listings out exclusively to the investment group. And then what they do is, if they want to, they can print those properties out. They can put it in the binder that we left behind with them. There's room for them to take notes. You know, they can call and ask questions and do that type of stuff. But what we're doing is we're going for something very tangible, something that they can touch and they can take home. And that's nice. Like, the idea is this, and I don't know if any of you are familiar with Dave Ramsey. Whenever he teaches his Financial Peace University, he's got these materials and these binders that he has that are very, I took Financial Peace University years ago. And every single time I come across that binder, I'm like, man, I should really throw this away. I mean, like, this has been so long ago, but it's so nice. It's like, like it was really hard for me to do. And that's the way that I want to
That's
treat
cool.
this. Is I want to treat it like this is of so much value. This is so important. Like, it's exclusive. You have exclusive membership to the investment group. I exclusively get these materials, and I'm going to use them in my pursuit of increasing my net worth.
Well, dude, this is freaking cool. I hope we can continue to share with you and add value to you so that you can continue to share and add value to us. This is a phenomenal idea. I love the approach.
Well, and here's the deal. Here's one really good reason why we can be talking as well. One of the pieces that is in here is the Airbnb model. And there are great Airbnb. So I'm in Prescott, but most of my business is in Phoenix. People are going to want to look at Airbnbs in a whole bunch of different places, right? They're not necessarily going to want to purchase an Airbnb in the market in which they live. So they might want to go to a place like Colorado or Prescott or Sedona or wherever your vacation communities are, that people go to or whatnot. That's another great way to approach, real estate agents in some of these markets that people are going to want to buy Airbnbs from and say, hey, listen, because not everybody in your MSA is going to be able to sell homes in, an MSA where they're buying an investment property. So there's another opportunity to make a sales. Yeah. So there's another sales call that you can make that says, hey, I'm putting together an investment group. We're going to be having some people that are interested in this market because this is what we're doing. Would you be willing to pay a referral fee, to my partner real estate agent down here if we had somebody that wanted to do this? And then there's an opportunity to pitch the program to that real estate agent and get them excited about what it is. Like, you can take this like so many different ways. Because if you call up a real estate agent and say, hey, I'd like to send you a bunch of referrals, this is what I'm doing. They're like, oh my gosh, that's brilliant. And they're like, would you like, again, you're just manufacturing interest, you're giving hope, you're inspiring, and you're adding value to every realtor partner you talk to.
This is freaking great, dude. This is, I'll email that, Dean, so that we can send this out. I'll email that YouTube link. Does anybody have any questions they want to ask Jason while we've got him on the phone, or any feedback?
So that property you're sitting in right now, you said you make about gross rent about $3,000 a month. How many days out of the month are you Airbnb-ing that property? Airbnb-ing?
I want to say I'm averaging on this one somewhere around 23. The one thing, there's a really good resource that I, share with, the people that I get interested in Airbnb called airdna.com. So you can take a look at the different markets. So let's see, I just pulled up the calendar this month. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's 9 days this month that it's not available. So 21 days this month is what it is that we rented it out. Next month, it's rented out 22 days. So anywhere between, I'd say 18 and 23 or something like that. We're running it probably, anywhere between 60 to maybe sometimes 70% occupancy.
Do you manage it yourself, or do you pay somebody?
My wife does. We eventually, I think, are going to change that. She's getting too busy with some of the stuff that she's doing. I just purchased another property in Houston, Texas, which I'm going to do as an Airbnb. It's on Lake Conroe, and that one I'm going to pay to have managed. But the rents in that market are about $300 a night because it's right on the lake. It's a pretty nice place. So it just depends. Most people aren't going to want to manage it. So they're going to have to, accept, basically paying for something like that. And it's worth it to do. There's enough cash flow that's there that you can still make the money, even after paying a management company.
No. Anybody else? Okay. Jason, I really appreciate your time today. Thanks a lot for doing this. I really appreciate it. Good seeing you too.